Hi, I'm Mary Blair, and this is my self-improvement presentation. David D. Burns profoundly stated, begin quote, "Your emotions result entirely from the way you look at things," end quote. Today I'll be talking to you about the book, Feeling Good, The New Mood Therapy by David D. Burns. How you feel is a direct result of how you think, and these negative thoughts can easily be wiped away if you reroute your thinking process. The concepts from this book I just mentioned relate to the concepts we learned in class through the concepts of perception of self, interpersonal conflict, and interpersonal relationship stages. Today I will be talking about self-esteem, interpersonal conflict, and relationships and approval. Then I will go into how I integrate this into my everyday life and the success that I achieved in doing so. Burns stated, begin quote, "The negative thoughts that flood your mind are the actual cause of your self-defeating emotions," end quote. Let's talk about self-esteem. You have to talk back to the voice in your head, write down negative thoughts and journal, and you can do this by monitoring the amount of times you say negative things about yourself in your head and out loud. And this can actually help you decrease the amount of times because you realize that your thoughts are quite irrational. These tactics can help you cope with your thoughts because you realize that you are not the label that you put on yourself. Now that I have talked about self-esteem, I will now move into interpersonal conflict. Burns states, begin quote, "Traditionally, psychotherapists have conceptualized two primary ways to deal with anger. A, anger turned inward, or B, anger turned outward," end quote. Inward anger is more internalized anger. You keep all of your angry thoughts to yourself and you eventually blow up, which leads to outward anger. Outward anger is when you take your anger out on yourself, other people, other things, and that can end up demolishing relationships you have with other people. The third route you can take is what I like to call the high road, and that's absence of anger. And that's when you have control over your feelings. Now that I have talked about interpersonal conflict, I will now talk about approval and relationship addiction. Burns states, begin quote, "If you are lonely and dependent, your anger and resentment stem from the fact that you feel deprived of the love you believe you are entitled to receive from others," end quote. Let's talk about dependency. Depending on someone else for your happiness is never a good idea because if you are not happy within yourself, you cannot be happy in your friendships and in your relationships. This ends up driving people away. Next, let's talk about approval. A lot of people have the fear of disapproval from somebody else because they seek that need for approval in order to make themselves happy, and you have to learn, like I just previously stated, to be happy within yourself and to approve yourself so you're not looking for that approval from somebody else because then you'll always end up disappointed if they're not giving it to you. Next, I'll talk about the not many advantages of being codependent. There are good ways and bad sides of this. A good advantage of being codependent is you always have someone to take care of you in a sense, and if you're depending on that person and they're making you happy, you then have happiness, but at the end of the day, if you're not happy, they're going to end up not being happy and they're going to be miserable and then they're going to get driven away. And also there's the feeling of overall feeling loved, which everybody wants to feel loved, but like I just said, if you're not happy with yourself, you can't be happy with anybody else. Now I will talk about how I incorporated this into everyday life. I incorporated this into everyday life by talking back to the voice in my head, which I talked about during my self-esteem segment. Writing down your thoughts can help you cope with your thoughts, and this really worked out for me because it helped me more understand about the way I was feeling. Another way, and I'm still kind of learning about this, is have better control over your feelings because you can end up hurting somebody else's feelings because you don't know how to control your own. And something else I learned is to be happy for yourself so you can make others happy. Now, wrapping up my presentation today, I hope you are educated in the way that you perceive yourself and how these negative thoughts in your head can affect your mood. So to review everything, talk back in regards to self-esteem to those negative thoughts in your head, journal, help yourself cope and understand about how you're feeling. For interpersonal conflict, You need to learn to control your feelings and not really practice inwards or outwards anger, and just practice absence of anger and take the high road, be the bigger person. This will help you communicate overall better with, if it's in friendships, relationships, professional settings. And for approval in relationships, never seek approval from somebody else. Find that within yourself. And finally, don't let your emotions get the best of you. Thank you.